Hi, I'm Luca.morell. Today we're taking a different approach to jumping. It took me 6 months to figure out how to explain this, but now I'm finally there. How come that it looks so effortless if you watch the pros jumping? Almost lazy. Because it is. Today we're talking about how to put pressure to the ground and thereby maximize the energy getting you up into the air. There are 3 main ways to get height on a jump: pulling, the speed, and pushing. Pulling is by nature limited because you can only pull up your arms and legs so much until you hit the natural stop of your joint. Increasing the speed is quite dangerous. That's why we'll focus on the third way today: pushing. At first we have to conserve as much energy as possible. How do we do that? By keeping our extremities, so our arms and legs, straight and hold the tension through the compression. To practice that, you can do a dry run, keeping your arms and legs straight, and just roll over the jump. You'll notice how much energy you will conserve, but it's not enough to jump. So the next step is pushing. Let's focus on the arms first. Your arms have to be slightly bent, but almost straight. That way you create muscle tension through the compression. At the top of the lip, you have to give the bar a confident push, but work your way up slowly. If you want, do some dry practices like this. The next step is to focus on the legs. You have your legs almost straight but slightly bent, so you can create muscle tension through the compression again, and then drive your weight into the ground, and at the top of the lip, when your front wheel is already in the air, give it a confident push again. You can also dry practice it like this. Now it's time to practice a lot. You have to gain confidence, slowly increase the intensity of your push, and work on your timing. And you'll be amazed how high you can fly through the air. Let's get into 5 common mistakes you want to avoid. Bad timing. There are many ways in which your timing could be off, but a few are more common than others. First of all, you land nosedive and maybe even go over the bars. This happens if the push into the front wheel happens too late, so you're already into the air and not on the lip, and push into nothing. And thereby shift your weight forward and land nosedive. How to avoid this? Your push has to be at the right time, so a little bit earlier. The second way your timing could be off is if you push into your arms and legs at the same time. This is a very common mistake among beginners, and you won't gain as much height because your back wheel will leave the ground when it's in the middle of the takeoff and not on the lip. The third mistake I often see bikers make is having bent extremities through the compression. They won't be able to hold the tension and that way lose a lot of energy that would otherwise fire them up into the air. The fourth mistake is pulling up, especially if you pull up too early. That way you'll soak up the jump and lose a lot of height. Yes, racers do this intentionally, but they want to be the fastest and on the ground as fast as possible. If you don't do it intentionally, you lose a lot of airtime and won't be as relaxed in the air as you could be. Pulling up, on the other hand, at the right timing after your hips have reached their maximum height will get your back wheel up a little bit higher. But if you want to do tricks, just keep your arms and legs almost straight and you will be very relaxed and have all the time you need to play around. The fifth and final mistake is, how I'd call it, being jumped. If you're scared and a little bit passive, the bike will jump you and not you have the control over the bike. That's very risky and you won't have as much control. It might even lead to landing a little bit sideways or off balance and crashing. Here are a couple of tips. The first 2 tips are 2 mental tips. When I jump a jump for the first time, there's always a certain process I go through. I close my eyes and visualize jumping the jump. If you can't even imagine to clear the jump, don't do it. The second tip, you might already guess, is to scale it down if you can't imagine it or are too scared about the jump. Just find a jump you're comfortable on and then progress slowly. It's not worth it to take too big risks, hurt yourself, and miss a lot of rides with your mates. There are also 4 physical tips. The first one is don't ride clipless pedals, otherwise you'll just pull up with your heels and won't learn the proper technique. The second one is you want to set up your suspension properly. For the takeoff, it would be ideal to have a hard suspension and a fast rebound, so you won't lose a lot of energy and have a lot of pop taking off. But on the other hand, for the landing, you want your rebound to be as low as necessary, so you won't go over the bars when you have a hard impact. The next thing is to be one with your bike. How do you do that? You have to have some body tension, and if you push the bike forwards on the handlebars and at the same time pull back with your toes, you'll have some tension. On the other hand, if you pull on the bar, just lower your heels a little bit and you'll also have some tension, and always stay on the bike without a lot of effort. What you also find if you take a close look is that some people have the front foot heel down and the back foot a little bit toe down. That way they have some tension and are fixed into their bike. The fourth and final tip is where should your weight be on the bike whilst jumping. When I'm talking about weight, I'll take the center of gravity, and that's our hips. At the takeoff you shift them a little bit behind the central position, but not too far, otherwise you'll lose all the body tension. And then shift it forward into the central position when you're mid-air, and in the end shift your weight forward. That way you'll land nosedive and can push the landing. But make sure you only match the angle of the landing with your front wheel and not go too nosedive, otherwise you risk going over the bars. Today I taught you to ride in an upright position with your arms and legs almost straight to conserve as much energy as possible. And if you look closely at the pros, you'll always see them ride like that. They only bend their extremities, arms and legs as much as they need to. But if you're a beginner, start first with going low so you can learn to have control over the bike and learn to ride slowly and safe down a trail, and then step up to riding upright. If you're upright, you have to have much more nuanced movements and balancing skills, so learn to ride in a low position first and then get into an upright position. There's no shortcut. Enjoy your airtime, be relaxed and light on the bike, maybe even try some tricks as soon as the bar and the pedals get light and you can play around with it. And yeah, you learned to do all your work in the takeoff and should be fine for the airtime phase and the landing and can relax there. Take off and have fun.